yet another episode of the Dynamic CIO. I, Smriti Gandhi, Director Community Engagement and Executive Editor of Dynamic CIO, welcome all of you again. Now, the COVID-19 crisis has hit the world, very hard in both social and business terms. From a business perspective, it required many changes from the products and services offered and the way they were produced, marketed, and sold to how employees work, the whole arena. And given the nature of the modern business, it has affected the BPO industry and the IT services industry as well. Indian IT services industry added $4 billion in the pandemic year. IT services almost, neared about $100 billion in size. The Indian BPO industry is estimated to leap at around 8.8 billion. Driven by a huge push of outsourcing knowledge, based on vertical specific processes. The BPO services in India is set to grow at a compounded annual growth rate of 5.8%. Today, my guest is a technocrat with a wide variety of experience in running business in the niche technology areas like artificial intelligence, automation, cloud, and IoT. He joined Tech Mahindra in the pandemic, and I have been chasing him since then. Let's welcome Hasit Trivedi, CTO Digital Technologies and Global Head AI at Tech Mahindra. Welcome to the show, Hasit.
Thanks, Mati, for the warm welcome. I think it's my pleasure, and apologize for the delayed, much delayed, I would say, time for you for this particular session.
No. I'm so glad you could make it. I'm so glad. So thank you so much. And without much ado, let me jump straight into the conversation that I have been chasing you for. We all know this, and it's a passe now that the pandemic struck, and we've all been a part of both the waves. Okay, and a prediction is there that the third wave is going to hit us soon, and I cross my fingers that it doesn't. But businesses have become resilient, but the customer demands and expectations from solution providers seems to have undergone a change. What are the challenges that you have faced here?
I think the challenges and opportunity both are there. I would not like to say only challenges, because there are a lot of opportunities are there and little challenges, I would say. I think opportunities are plenty because the technology adoptions has been increasing significantly thanks to the COVID. There's only one thing we can thank about the COVID is that it has accelerated the journey of the technology adoption in the enterprises globally across all geographies. So that is a uniform phenomena. And speed of adoption has also increased. Correct? So there is a sense of urgency. As you are saying that when the wave one came, very few companies were ready. Wave two, a lot of companies ready. Now wave three, I think there are certain leftovers are still there. And the maturity of adoption is also increasing from the early adopters. Correct? So earlier was to ensure that we are well connected. Correct? Employees are safe. Correct? The precautions are being made and your business usually runs properly. Now the different kind of working model is emerging. Correct? The remote working is emerging significantly. Digital workforce penetration is increased. So I think more and more the bots ecosystems are emerging, both from the RPA bots and the cognitive bots. Correct. So that digital workforce penetration is significantly increased, and that brings different kind of challenges. Correct. So this is the wave where potentially now they want to manage this bot ecosystem pretty well. Other thing which has emerged, that once remote working started, there is a realization that people can work from any geography as well. Correct. It's not about the working remotely within a geography. There is a realization that talent can come from any part of the world. Correct. And also the talent heterogeneity has significantly increased. Correct. So one aspect I said digital workforce versus human workforce. That is one heterogeneity aspect. Other is a remote workforce and physical people who are going physically. That is another heterogeneity has come. Third is that the freelancers and contract employee. Correct. That is another thing which is emerging very, very fast in this thing, that you get the skill based on need, on demand basis, and you use it up to that point of time. So the temp employment is significantly increasing this time, both from the need perspective and the genuine skill availability perspective as well. So that is a new challenges to manage this heterogeneous workforce ecosystem is becoming challenge. Now we at TechM are asking customer to aspire for zero. Okay, and when I say zero, it is about you have to make your business process in a manner. It is zero disruption is there, zero latency in business process, zero error, and zero touch experience to customer. Correct. So that is where the aspiration for zero comes, and this is where the digital technologies will bring into picture going forward. And the more and more asks from customers are coming in these areas, that how do I make my business resilient and a touch-free, correct? And I think that is the biggest learning each enterprises are having these days, that how to ensure that it's a rapidly changing and adoption of technologies happens in a scenario where the talent war is enormous, correct? So I think that is the biggest challenge the enterprises are facing, not only IT, all the industries across the thing, correct? So that is one thing. And geopolitical situations are also changing the way the people were outsourcing the work, either in service industry or manufacturing industries, is also changing. So this is a whole amount of challenges and opportunities are emerging, correct? It's a whole gamut of the supply chain has changed. So that's what I would say. But I would say opportunities are more for the company like IT organization in general. And challenges, of course, talent war is the biggest challenge.
No, I love your aspire for zero, but it's aspire for zero disruption. So, amazing to that. And, the way you spoke about your pool of talent and the workforce whole ecosystem totally brings out the fact that, your challenge is actually how you're turning the challenge into an opportunity where, those are your workforce, your pool of talent is a challenge for you, but you're looking for opportunities from that pool of talent and, making the best of it. So great. So, we all know that digitization will shift gears as we move ahead. What do you think that, what would be some of the changes that the industry digital leaders should anticipate, and how should they be prepared? I know that, after the pandemic, we all know that anything can strike us anytime. But if you can give, some of your expert views.
I think one thing as a little bit long-term trend, I would say, is that each industry will become a technology industry. I think all companies will be technology company. I don't think today there is a different color of industry like a banking, retail, telecom, and all those kind of industry. I think industry boundaries are getting blurred. And there is only one industry, which is the technology industry. I think it will be the technology company happens to be doing banking. It's a technology company happens to be doing retailing. I think that paradigm shift is a significant and very large scale. And I think that is one challenge, because that challenge brings a different challenge that you don't know from where the competition is coming. Correct? And suddenly technology which was a support process, correct? CIO organization was a support process, and thus it was amenable for outsourcing. Correct? Suddenly the technology is a core to your business, correct? So then you need to choose a partner who can help you to become a technology company, not the piece of work which is say 2-3% of their spend is going into the outsourcing technology support and run business. Now you have to become a technology company, and there are technology first company in each of the sector, correct? So be it a retailer, be it a bank, be it a payment banks, be it a telecom companies, they are the new entrants who are primarily technology company and less of the brick and mortar kind of situation, correct? So this is one big phenomena which comes into picture. However, one thing industry will be common is the customer centricity. As long as you are centered around the customer, I think you don't have to worry about the challenge. And with that, I think the digital in a true spirit, digital is not about really technology like cloud, AI, IoT. I think they are just enabler. The three principle of digital is, I would say, is a pervasiveness. What a digital means, it's a pervasiveness, it's a accurate, and it's a fast. Correct? Speed, pervasiveness, and the error free. Correct? That is what you define as a digital. As long as you aspire to bring these three together in a customer context, so you have to fastest to reach your customer, speed, which I am telling. You have to give the experience which is pervasive in nature, wherever customer, through whatever channel, whatever mechanism want to reach you should be able to provide services and products to that thing. And it should be error free. Correct? It should be accurate. Precision, correct? So precision, pervasiveness, and the speed. This is the digital all about. And as long as you do each of this thing using technology, I think the technology is of course the enabler and the customer in mind. I think then any change in phenomena is possible. But yes, all of these things, speed, pervasiveness, and precision will come only by technology. And thus the AI, automation, IoT, cloud is important. And I think that is where the most of the companies are investing, and they have to invest. There is no choice. And as I told that they have to become a technology company first, and of course banks, and it happens to be banking business.
I speak to a lot of community members, the CIO community and the CISO community, and I always used to tell them, digital is has moved from a nice to have to a must to have. No longer. But now I've got two other things to, now change. I'm going to change that sentence and to whoever I speak to, that digital is all about pervasiveness, accuracy, and speed. And the new normal is no longer digital must have, but the new normal is about that all companies are going to become technology companies now. So that's a good insight that you gave us. Obviously we all know about it, but yeah, the way you put it, it's true. And we cannot run away from it. So you spoke about the accuracy, the speed, and the pervasiveness. And that reminded me of the word called data. So I want to ask you, how important is data driven decision making for an organization in the current scenario and the future?
No, I think if you see, since evolution of human, I think the decision was supposed to be always based on data and rationality, correct? It was not supposed to be based on the whims and fancy of the people. I think always enterprises wanted to make a data-driven decision. The challenge is earlier that the data was not available, correct? And even if data was available, tool to amplify the data and make it consumable for the business user so that they can take a decision was not there. So I think the data-driven decision-making was always an aspiration. It was always a need and desire for the enterprises. Now it is feasible in much more easier manner because a lot of data is available, not only from within the enterprises, outside the enterprise. And I keep telling enterprises and our customers that the data within organization is important, but data outside the organization is more important. Because there's so much of data, but only challenge is that data outside organization is unstructured, so difficult to deal with. Correct. So last decade, availability of data was not the issue, but processing that data was an issue. But with the advent of technology like AI, data availability is taken care, but data interpretation, data understanding has become far easier with the advent of technology of AI, and thus you are able to take a holistic decision based on what data which you have inside the organization and what outside the organization. Because outside the organization gives you data about your customers, about your partners, about what is happening in startup ecosystem, what is happening in competitor environment. And those are very important decisions which were not data driven so far. Because what you have your own ERP, CRM, and SCM data, which is your own data, not any of your ecosystem player data. And thus, whatever decision was not a 360-degree view of the data. Now, I think the tools, techniques, availability of data is available to ensure that the dream of becoming a data-driven organization can be realized now.
We always speak about internal stakeholders, which are our employees, and the external stakeholders, which are our customers. Your viewpoint of internal data and the external data and putting the whole ecosystem and giving a 360-degree approach for our data, for now driving decisions in a company and how important it is very true. So do you shift, or we spoke about data, we spoke about digitization, and we spoke about, the customer demands and expectation. Do you see a shift to, all of this, a growing shift towards cloud? What is your current cloud trend, and what will be it in the growing 2020?
Yeah, absolutely. Cloud is certainly very important element to the making your pervasive aspect. When I said digital aspect, right? So one was that becoming pervasive and speed, correct? So the cloud takes care of the three elements of digital, which I said. The one was pervasive, precision, which is error-free, and the speed, correct? So cloud provides speeds and pervasiveness, correct? So these two aspects are driving cloud adoption because if you want to connect from anywhere, you need to have a data in a place which is accessible from internet and every places. If you want to have speed, that means you have the infrastructure and application should be elastic enough to do faster, correct? And if you want to take decision faster, you should have processing power to machine to learn from the data and help you to make decision process. So certainly cloud is very important from these elements, and thus the workloads are moving to cloud. There's no doubt about that thing. But another thing which is to be understood is that cloud is here to stay, but on-premise will also be here to stay, and polycloud is here to be stay, correct? What new things will come into picture is polycompute. So three things are here to stay, and which I think most of the people are anyway talking that hybrid cloud, which is on-premise versus cloud version, is there. New things which have started even talking about the polycloud because of various regulatory aspects and your own contingency and risk management perspective, you should not be binding yourself to one hyperscaler, correct? Multiple hyperscaler based on the regulation, data storage mechanisms, or data regulatory aspects, or data protection laws of each of the country, you may have to adopt quickly to the different kind of partners from the localization perspective as well, correct? So thus the polycloud is an important element to be ready to deal with the complex navigation of the regulatory aspects, data protection and data localization aspect. But polycompute is a new phenomena which will come because of need of taking faster decision, correct? So if you see the current infrastructure in enterprise world is a CPU centric, correct? The CPU is the core. CPU is equal to infrastructure in the current avatar of the data center, correct? Now GPU is moving from gamification world to the enterprise world because it provides a very large scale parallel processing compute capabilities. And with the AI and machine learning, which requires a huge computing power, GPU is a fulfilling agent. And thus the need of GPU in an intermix of the in the intermix of the cloud infrastructure will be a very important aspect, and which will lead to the batch process becoming real time. Today, a lot of enterprises does a lot of batch processing. Banks, telecom, a lot of industries do a lot of things overnight because the data processing need is so high. You do it in nightly basis or time when the rest of the computings are not busy. GPU will take away that bottleneck, and GPU or FPGA, I would say, both are the mechanism to optimize your parallel processing engine, correct? And that will become will help you to shift from batch to real-time mode in a decision making and data processing perspective. Other important is that edge computing, correct? So like a client server technology, some workload was processed on client side and some workload was processed on the server side. I think if you look at the surveillance, computer vision, any of these techniques, that will require the computing at the camera sites, correct? So it's like a edge devices will be there, correct? And thus the mix of the CPU will have with the GPUs, FPGA and edge computing. All this thing will bring a polycompute environment, correct? So polycloud and polycompute is the future. I think that enterprise need to be ready for that. And I think we need to also be ready that potential maybe a decade from now, cloud repatriation talks will also be happening, correct? So moving workload back from cloud to on-premise. So as long as you are ready, because whatever reason, might be certain kind of data you are not allowed to put on a public domain or on not in a public domain, cloud doesn't mean public domain, but you want to look because of localization needs or data protection needs, there might be laws which are yet emerging, correct? You don't know where it will move towards. And thus you have to have the orchestration mechanism to move workload from one kind of cloud to other kind of cloud, be it on-premise cloud to the hybrid cloud mechanism or public hyperscaler cloud mechanism. So this is a very important phenomena. Agility to move the workload from one kind of infrastructure to other kind of infrastructure will become key.
The cloud infrastructure itself is, even when we talk about digitization, and digitization and cloud itself has seen a huge change, a lot of changes happening within cloud from the time that, the adoption of cloud and cloud infrastructure has become a necessity. We've been hearing about hybrid, we've been hearing about multi, we've been hearing about polycloud, polycompute, edge computing. So it has seen a lot of changes in itself as well. It's what I think. So, in the paucity of time, I'm going to ask you one last question, Hasit. What are some of the new implementations and innovations in the emerging tech, which one should, brace for a more optimistic picture? And if you could share any use case?
Yeah, I think we just have to look around what our kids are doing. I think best way to see is that how the kids are using technology, correct? Whether they are the way they talk with the Alexa or the way they would talk with the Google Assistant, the way they navigate Google Map with the voice, the way they use smart TV remote. I think it is a sign of that how the technology adoption will happen in enterprises, correct? So the one thing which excites me or amaze me is that how the voice will become a universal user interface for human to interact with machine, correct? Today, the text and keyboards are the mechanism for human to interact with machine, correct? I think it's a slow progress, but I think over a period of time, I think the only interface will be voice. And I think that is the biggest use case, I would say. If it's a single use case, if enterprise be ready for that thing, it's a complex use cases. While tons of bots, conversation bots or chat bot exist in the world, but adoption wise, nobody uses, correct? It's a far to being accurate and being providing cognitive experience, correct? It's mostly you get a dropout from the various design, correct? You ask certain questions, after 2 or 3 questions, it's not able to understand and divert to human agents. I think its maturity has to increase, and adoption also has to be increased. Company will have to invest big time, and it has to be seen as a voice. Today is a customer servicing side, correct? It's a chatbot is seen as a customer servicing side, but you have to see it as a channel, correct? It is like a web channel or your brick and mortar channel. This conversation AI will become a channel for you where the promote commerce and service, correct? All three will be happening, and you have to have the this channel specific strategy and investment, which will change the way you would be talking with the machine, the way your application will be designed. Today, it's a mostly form-based application. You have big forms and keep entering the things. Imagine if your kid becomes, or my kid gets into in the enterprise world, they would not like to type any of these things, correct? This whole investment, the legacy user interface, beautiful screens and all those things will be of no use if the voice becomes the interface, correct? So the whole application design paradigm has to change to get ready for that thing. And I find it's very promising and exciting, because this is the only natural way of human interaction with human, correct? If you go with the human evolution, there was no language or script, correct? Language was there, a script was not there, correct? A script came a little late. So it was most natural way of human interaction, and that natural way is coming back due to the machine intelligence, that you would be able to interact with the machine, not with human, but in the same way you were designed to communicate, correct? Human are designed to communicate with the voice. I think that is a big phenomena which I feel enterprise will have to adopt in a big manner. And it's a complex journey, so it has to be started as soon as possible.
We always say, all our ancestors and all our elders always say, everything is a circle. Everything, whatever you do, everything comes back. So yes, what you said is right. Finally, the interaction is important. It started with the language, and it will come back. Maybe it will just be a human machine, but it will still be there. So it's a circle which is coming back. And your whole conversation was beaming full of positivity, starting with when you spoke about pool of talent, or when you spoke about the pervasiveness and the accuracy and the speed. I like your last advice to the community. If you want to learn about the emerging tech, just look around what the children are doing, and you will come to know what is the new emerging tech which is available. So I love the simplistic and the very easy. When we talk about technology, it seems a very a word which everybody should, a topic which everybody doesn't want to converse to. Oh, I don't understand AI, I don't understand blockchain, I don't understand multi-hybrid, I don't know what on-prem is, etc. You put everything in such a simple and a very straightforward way. So thank you so much for this conversation. I wish we could keep going on, but in the paucity of time, I will have to end this. But thank you so much, and I look forward to interacting with you again. And on behalf of Dynamic CIO, I would like to thank you.
Thanks, Mati. I enjoyed the conversation. I think it was equally interesting to discuss with you. I think you narrated after every question beautifully. I think your own ability to grasp the things quickly and summarize on real-time basis, it impressed me. Thanks for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.